Imagine you spent years putting up with Windows, the forced updates that restarted your computer at the worst possible time, the ads baked right into your start menu, the constant feeling that Microsoft was treating your PC like a product to be monetized, not a tool you actually owned. So one day, you made the switch. You moved to Linux, specifically Ubuntu. You felt free, you felt in control, and for a while it was great. But here's the thing, nobody warned you about the company behind Ubuntu has been making a series of decisions over the last few years that have Linux users absolutely furious. And when you look at what's actually happening under the hood, it starts to feel uncomfortably familiar. Like you've seen this story before. Like you left one ecosystem to end up right back inside another one. This is the story of how Ubuntu, once the gold standard of beginner-friendly Linux, may be quietly becoming the very thing its users ran away from. To understand why this matters, you have to understand what Ubuntu was supposed to be. When Canonical, the company behind Ubuntu, launched the distribution back in 2004, the promise was simple and powerful. Free software, open source, built for everyone. The tagline literally translates from a South African philosophy to mean humanity toward others. For years, Ubuntu delivered on that. It became the most popular Linux distribution in the world. It was the distro that finally made Linux accessible to ordinary people, not just developers and computer science students. If you were fleeing Windows or Mac OS and someone told you to try Linux, the answer was almost always, start with Ubuntu. And Canonical grew. By 2024, the company was reporting roughly $292 million in annual revenue. That's not a small open source project anymore. That's a real corporation with investors, growth targets, and commercial pressures. And that's where things start to get interesting, because right around the time Canonical's revenue started climbing, Ubuntu started changing in ways that its most loyal users didn't appreciate. Quietly, incrementally, and in some cases, without any real public discussion. Let's start with something that sounds minor but actually caused a massive backlash in the Linux community: Firefox. When you install Ubuntu today and you open Firefox for the first time, you might notice something feels a little sluggish. There's a reason for that. In 2022, Canonical made the decision to ship Firefox as a snap package instead of a traditional deb package. If those terms don't mean anything to you yet, here's what matters. The native deb version of Firefox opens in roughly 2 seconds on most systems. The snap version? Closer to 12 seconds on a cold start. That's a 6 times slower launch. For a browser, the most used application on most computers. And the kicker? You didn't choose this. Canonical chose it for you. Now, Canonical has explanations for this. Snaps are their proprietary packaging format, a way to bundle applications so they update automatically and run in a sandboxed environment. There are legitimate technical arguments for why this approach could benefit certain users. But the problem isn't the technology itself. The problem is the transparency or the complete lack of it. Canonical started overriding users' package preferences without clearly communicating what was happening or why. And Firefox was just the beginning. Here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Because what happened next wasn't just about slow load times or packaging formats. It was about something much more fundamental, the idea that your computer should do what you tell it to, not what a corporation has quietly decided is best for you. If you open a terminal on Ubuntu and type apt install Chromium browser, which is the most natural, logical command any Ubuntu user would use to install Google's Chromium browser, something unexpected happens. Instead of getting a traditional deb package like you asked for, Ubuntu silently installs the snap runtime in the background and then gives you the snap version of Chromium. No warning, no confirmation dialog, no explanation. You typed one thing, your system did something else entirely. And according to multiple reports from developers and power users who investigated this, it was not a bug. It was a deliberate product decision made by Canonical. Think about that for a second. The operating system that marketed itself as a rejection of corporate overreach is now making product decisions on your behalf without telling you. That sounds a lot like something a different operating system from Redmond, Washington used to get roasted for. But we're not done. Because right around this same period, Ubuntu users started noticing something in their terminals that made a lot of people genuinely angry. Promotional messages. Inside app, the core package management tool that system administrators use on production servers, that developers use to manage dependencies, that power users run hundreds of times a week. Canonical started injecting advertisements for their Ubuntu Pro service. You'd run sudo apt upgrade, a routine system maintenance command, and you'd get a little pitch about upgrading to Ubuntu Pro mixed in with your output. Now, Ubuntu Pro itself is a legitimate service. It provides extended security updates for enterprise customers, and that makes sense as a business offering. The controversy isn't about the product. The controversy is about the placement. When you start putting promotional messages inside core system tools, you have crossed a line that most Linux users consider sacred. The terminal is not a billboard, it is a workspace. And when Microsoft did something similar, embedding promotional content into Windows system processes, the Linux community was among the loudest critics. This time, the Linux community was the target. And then came the story that might be the most alarming of all. In early 2026, a former Canonical developer advocate went public with a warning about the Snap Store, Canonical's proprietary application marketplace that powers the Snap ecosystem. According to this person, the Snap Store had become a vector for malware distribution. Specifically, fake cryptocurrency wallet applications mimicking well-known apps like Exodus, Ledger Live, and Trust Wallet had made their way onto the platform. These weren't obscure apps. These were convincing fakes designed to steal users' crypto assets. Security researchers identified the problem and reported it. And according to the accounts that came out, Canonical's response was slow. Days passed before meaningful action was taken. This is significant because one of the core promises of Snap is security. Apps run in sandboxed environments. Updates are centrally managed. It's supposed to be safer. And yet, a closed, proprietary store, one that users have no control over, became a distribution channel for malware. And Canonical, a company generating nearly $300 million a year, didn't move fast enough to stop it. So what does all of this actually add up to? Taken individually, you could explain away any one of these decisions. Snaps are a technical bet that didn't land perfectly yet. The terminal ads were tone-deaf but not malicious. The Snap Store needs better moderation. Fair enough. But when you zoom out and look at the pattern, the forced format migrations, the silent package redirects, the promotional messages in system tools, the slow response to a security threat, a picture starts to emerge. And that picture looks a lot like a company that has started prioritizing its own platform control over user autonomy. That is the core tension in Linux right now. The whole reason people come to Linux is because they want an operating system that doesn't treat them like a monetization opportunity. And Canonical, by building a closed-source backend for the Snap Store, by making decisions users can't easily override, is drifting away from that founding principle. The community has noticed. Linux Mint, one of Ubuntu's closest relatives, has explicitly blocked Snap from running on its systems entirely. Fedora, Debian, and Zorin OS are all seeing renewed interest from users who are asking a question they never expected to ask. Should I still be on Ubuntu? Here's the bigger picture that this story points to. We are at an inflection point in the open source world. The platforms and distributions that built their reputations on being anti-corporate are now large enough to have corporate pressures of their own. And history tells us what usually happens. When a technology platform reaches a certain scale, it starts optimizing for the platform, not the user. Ubuntu isn't Windows yet. That would be an overstatement. But the trajectory, the direction of travel is worth watching very carefully. Because the worst version of this story isn't one dramatic betrayal. It's a slow accumulation of small decisions that, one day, add up to something users can no longer recognize or trust. You left Windows because it stopped serving you. The question worth asking right now is, are you paying close enough attention to know when history is repeating itself? If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure you subscribe because this channel exists to ask exactly these kinds of questions about the technology that shapes our lives. There's a lot more to come.